I've been posting on social media for 3 months now, and I recently hit 10,000 followers and made over $1,000 from influencer brand deals. So this video is going to be about how to source brand deals as an influencer. So hello. My name is Catherine. I'm the founder of Anja Health. We help pregnant parents free stem cells from their umbilical cords and placenta. So I'm making a lot of content about that. However, I recently appointed a new CEO to the company, and I've been focusing on building out my personal brand in the interim. I previously built out a social media following of around 200,000 followers across TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube for my company, but that was in 2021. So this time I thought it would be a really interesting thought experiment to assess how to build out personal content where I'm not pushing a product and to see if I can do it again. Times have definitely changed. And also it's kind of interesting to cater my content towards getting brand deals and making money that way rather than pushing my own product. So that's been a really interesting thought experiment, but I've been documenting my entire journey so that I can take notes on how to build content again and share it with you guys. So the first thing that you need to know about making money as an influencer is if it talks like an influencer and it walks like an influencer, it's an influencer. So basically I make content that could be construed as an ad in order to prepare myself for making ad content and to show brands that I can make good content about different products. So if you notice, a lot of my videos mention products in some way, generally SaaS tools or beauty products, because those are products that I personally use and feel really passionately about. I love, for instance, the Oura Ring, Zapier. I use Media Kit related SaaS. I used Airtable and Stripe a lot. I've used Cluely for meetings. I use Coral AI. I use Rode, Rare Beauty, Pat McGrath, Gap, etc. And I basically try to mention all of these brands in my videos organically so that I can start exercising the muscle of being an influencer, because if it walks like an influencer, talks like an influencer, it's an influencer. So then I started doing outbound. I actually had a really interesting conversation with one of my best high school friends, Katie, shout out to Katie, about doing outbound as an influencer and sourcing my own brand deals and sending sample videos to different brands where I mentioned them already to see if they would want to collaborate with me further and pay me for it. And Katie is working at an influencer marketing agency, so she basically offered to additionally help me, and now she's my Kris Jenner. So together we created outbound drafts, and we use the tool Apollo to do outbound. It's $50 a month, but we're already making it back. And we essentially have an abundance mindset around sourcing brand deals. And we also try to be aggressive. So we try to negotiate brand deals. For example, this is a good draft email. And I really only do things if it feels like a brand that I would push inherently already. So for instance, I did my first brand deal with Cluely, and I felt like I had already made videos mentioning Cluely. So it just felt like an organic next step for me to make more videos about Cluely. And it was able to align with my brand in a way that felt good to me. But one of my good friends, who is a pretty big tech creator, told me that tech companies definitely have more money to spend on things like influencer campaigns. However, a lot of tech companies tend to lock you into exclusivity agreements. You should also know that as a creator, when you're negotiating deals, one of the things that you can negotiate is non-exclusivity. So just know that that is well within your rights. Definitely stand on business when you need to. You should do what you need to do to promote your own brand. The only person that's going to protect you is yourself. So for instance, if you're pushing an AI Labs product, another AI lab is going to be competitive. So the original AI lab might lock you into an exclusivity contract. But for instance, if you're a beauty and fashion creator, there's likely less exclusivity than a tech company would have, because people that use certain beauty products, it's very obvious that they use multiple beauty products because that's the way beauty works. And it's more organic to include beauty products in your everyday lifestyle related videos. So my general opinion is you can make more money doing tech partnerships with less of a following, but you can get more partnerships if you push fashion and beauty products. So more recently, I've actually been experimenting with making more beauty and fashion related content because it is a passion of mine. It just doesn't come as organically as making tech content, but that's a separate story. Next, my tip to getting influencer brand deals is to try and get invited to influencer events, because there are definitely a lot of influencer events happening, especially if you live in a city like New York, as I do. And inviting another creator to these brand events is totally free for the brand, and it's a good way for you to get exposure. So I went to 2 influencer events in the past month, and I was able to get exposed to a really amazing gifting suite, got a lot of free swag, etc. But my main objectives at these events were, number one, to meet the point of contact in the marketing team for that company, because then you can be top of mind for future brand deals. And my other objective was to take really good content for my story so that I can start to curry favor with the brand as someone that can organically push them and just start exercising the muscle of if it talks like an influencer and walks like an influencer, you're an influencer. I feel like influencers organically go to brand events and that's like a cool thing. So I wanted to start positioning myself as someone that's doing that because you can fake it till you make it. My main observation here was that they differ a lot from tech events where a lot of people are indexing for learning something or getting some kind of alpha from someone else about how to grow their business or fundraise, etc. And at these influencer events, it's not so much networking as it is like finding the head of marketing so that you're top of mind for future deals and making sure you get a really good piece of content so that you can position yourself as someone that would push that brand. I actually saw a really interesting video that my bestie Raja sent me, and it's where Coco Schiffer is talking about how when she was really grinding trying to become an influencer, she would go to 5 or 6 influencer events a day. Her main objective was to meet the point of contact and post content there, and then she would move on to the next event, and that's how she really was able to position herself well with brands and get a lot of good brand deals going.
People ask me all the time also, that's another huge one. It's like, how did you grow so quickly? Because I grew in like literally less than a year.
Yeah.
Number one, because I took my own advice. When I was a talent manager, I would give all these talent advice about like how to grow and like the good content and whatever. And so I just did it, you know, and it worked.
It worked. It's like you show up to the events, you make relationships.
Right. And I also went to every single event I was invited to.
I can't believe
for
that. I
8
remember
months
you
straight.
saying that.
And I put on my best outfit. I took the pictures. I had this like little flow where I would walk into an event. I would find the photographer immediately, and I would stack the events. I would go to like 5 in a day sometimes. Find the photographer immediately, take the picture, and then have them introduce me to the marketing director or the PR, whoever's like, you know, in charge, head honcho, say hi, do the little game. There's always like a little game. A little thing. And then get out of there. So it's like 5-10 minutes tops.
Completely.
You know?
Yeah.
But you learn that
You
along the way.
learn that stuff along the way.
Now, on the contrary, I know another influencer that actually has the thought that you should only show up to events that you are paid to be at, and you can get the points of contact to come to you by hosting events, which I think is another really interesting strategy. Right now, I'm trying the former, but I think the latter might be something that I try in the future. And then lastly, agencies. I think being a part of the influencer scene, if you will, and learning more about the agency ecosystem has been really fascinating to me. I mean, obviously, I think from the outside looking in, it seems like being signed to any agency is an achievement, but I've actually learned that some agencies are less than optimal, and usually agencies have their favorite creators that they represent, and every other creator that they represent and their roster is kind of revolving around getting brand deals for their favorite creators. So it really depends on the agency, but overall, it's prompted this sense of skepticism that I have towards agencies, and that's why I instead have my bestie Katie repping me. But there are a few agencies that I've heard amazing things about: Digital Brand Architects, WME, CAA, UTA, and Range. I think when you sign with these agencies, it's not even about having someone managing your inbox, but it's actually about their network and the fact that they can open you up to more opportunities. They can invite you to things like the Grammys or Fashion Week or things like that. So in those cases, it's worth giving them the management fee. It's more than just about the money. It's really about the clout and the status that they have and their reach. So overall, my thoughts on being an influencer is that I don't necessarily know if it's something that I would ever want to do full time, because I just don't think it fills up my cup in the same way that, for instance, being the founder of a company does. But I think it's really interesting to experiment with. I would love to continue to do it for the next little bit. And also, I find it fascinating that a lot of influencers' goals are to go to certain events and be invited to events or have certain brand trips covered, for instance, and get certain collabs. And I just think that that's like a totally different way to think about things than being a founder, for instance, because being a founder is all about kind of growth and making money. And it's more like, how are you moving the needle on what you're doing? And influencer stuff is kind of more like, how are you moving the needle on reaching others, brands in particular? And then in that way, it does also become about the money that you're giving yourself. But yeah, I think because that is harder, you're dependent on something that's out of your control. A lot of influencers are now wanting to become founders so that they can control their own stuff. And inversely, a lot of founders want to become influencers because distribution is the best thing that you can have. So my new thesis is influencers want to become founders want to become influencers. As a result, I would love to be both. So that's why I'm continuing to post. So yeah, thanks so much for watching. And remember to subscribe to my channel and follow me on all of my other channels.
Trying to be all that I can be for you.